So, so welcome back. My name is Aisha Price, and I'm with Loudoun County Public Schools, and I'm going over some small business processes and strategies with you. Right now, we are talking about a new process called SIPOC, and it's called SIPOC, and the S stands for supplier, the I stands for input, the P stands for process, the O stands for output, and the C stands for customers. So this really is more so a flow chart or business process map, and it helps you identify the roles and responsibilities of all the individuals that are involved in your business and how your process is going to impact your consumers and the organization. And some things you want to look at is you want to focus on pitfalls in the process. Pitfalls are also called opportunities for improvement. And when we look at a supplier, so when we look at a SIPOC, we're looking at the independent and dependent variables that affect the process. And I'll explain in detail. So when we talk about a supplier is you, okay? You are supplying the product. We talk about inputs. Inputs are all of the people and all of the tools and everything that goes into creating the product or service. Okay, so if there's documentation, if there's some of you mentioned training decks, if you have to do that, you have to create training decks. Some of you mentioned there's a product that you have that has to come from, you have to create the product from the warehouse, what goes into the product. Some of you have inventory that, right? So I know you mentioned you're going to have a product line, and so there's going to be an input. And what is that input? So there's always an input. Everything that goes into creating your product is an input, okay? And then we have your process. The process is, what is the process after the product is created? What is the process of the product or service has to go through, right? So how are you going to deliver that product or service to the customer? Okay. And when you write out this, it really gives you an opportunity for you to see what are some areas you may need to change in your process. And the video will go over a little bit more detail how to outline it. And there's also different blocks, different shapes that are considered certain areas. So, like a circle would be a start. So, you're really going to make a process map. I don't know if any of you have ever created a process map. Some of you individuals who may be in the tech field or maybe in engineering, maybe in accounting, maybe in IT, you're probably familiar with this. And this is something you would utilize for any product or any service that you're providing. Okay. And then output. What is the output that you get out of it? After you did all the inputs, you realize that this is the process it takes to get to the output. What is that final product, right? What is the final output? So if you're making a product, what is it going to look like at the end of it? If you're creating a service, what is it going to look at the end of it? Okay. And then you're going to think about the customer. How is the customer going to get the product? Okay. Whether the product is going to be delivered through electronically, through email, what does that process look like? Is it going to be delivered through them online? Is it going to be mailed to them? What is that? So the output is how you get to that point. Okay. So for example, if I create educational content. Okay. So I'm the supplier. I'm supplying the educational content. The inputs that go into it are me working and creating the content online, me doing all of the presentation decks, me researching information, me sitting, doing the long hours, me testing the data to make sure that the information I'm going to receive, the students are going to receive, is adequate, me checking the web to make sure that my videos are unique or I'm in the right niche, me checking and seeing if my market research is correct, and me creating the product. So, and then what's the process of me creating the actual product? Okay. And then, so I have to type it up. I do the research. I have to create it. I have to save it. I have to test it out. I have to watch my videos over again, right? So all of this happens before I put anything on YouTube. Okay. So I'm writing out what that process is. So what are the different steps that I have to take, right? Because the input is really all the people that are involved and all the roles that are involved. And then the process is what I'm actually doing with the material in order to get it to a product. And then the output is me checking it, me verifying it. I may have to get other people to review it. I may have to review it multiple times. I may have to load it and upload it multiple times. I may have to um, proof it. I have to spell check it. Sometimes I have to change the timing because the website doesn't allow longer than a few minute videos. You know, most sites want you, like YouTube, if you purchase the whole YouTube player, it allows you to put longer videos. But if you didn't, you purchase the shorter one, you have to make the video shorter. My lighting, all of those things, I may have to send it to the editor. And I have someone who edits the videos for me and they review them. I have to put the logos on there, my trademarks on there, non-proprietary. I have to put my business name on there. So there's a lot of things that I have to do in order before it goes to the customer. And then how does the customer receive it? Am I sending an email to the customer, right? Am I sending links? So all of those different things, is it being linked to somewhere? Am I linking it to my Facebook? Am I linking the YouTube to the Facebook? Am I linking it to my IG? And is it being uploaded onto a server, right? Is it something that I have to give for the school to deliver? And my manager has to review it. So all of those things, if I'm creating a flyer, if I'm creating any materials that I want the students to know about or information I want them to come to. So all of those things you think about, all right, with the output. And then the customer, before the customer sees it, what's the process for it to get to the customer? Okay, so you consider all of that, meaning timing, upload time, download time. Okay, so all of those things, because that kind of stuff impacts the customer. So what's going to happen when it gets to the customer? How does it get to the customer? Right? Um, you have to think about all of those things before you do it. Okay. And then the customer, what are they actually receiving? What is the benefit of the customer? What's the benefit to the customer? Okay. How are they going to purchase it? What's the pricing for them to purchase it? Right? Maybe they want to buy something that's associated with it. Maybe I have manuals that go along with it. Okay. How are they going to get the manual? How is it sent to them? Okay. They're paying on the web. So once they pay, is it going to upload or download to them automatically once they pay? And then who's going to manage all of that? So you're going to have an IT person to manage that part of it, to make sure that it's going to the customer correctly. Also, if you have content that for what age bracket it is. Okay. So there's all these different things. Yeah, like your Shopify. Okay. Yeah, they ask you, to identify your brand. They ask you identify your pricing they ask you to tell them how much it is going to be to deliver it, to package it, all of those things. Are you going to have different subscriptions or different packages? Okay. So you really want to consider the customer before you finalize everything. Okay. And you want to test it out to some different individuals and make sure that what they're receiving is what you intended. For example, when I sent out the survey, okay, there's some different things I have to click in order for you guys to see the survey versus someone who's in the interagency to see it. So if it was someone who actually works in my agency for the county, they can do the survey, right? But if it's someone who is not in the agency, then they may not be able to see it. Okay. So I had to go in, and before I submitted the survey to you, I had to create the survey. I had to think about the questions. I had to format the survey, right? I had to test it out. Of course, it comes to me automatically and I see it. But then also, when you answer the questions, I have to think about how are the questions going to be lined up. Okay. So I have to tag and link a spreadsheet to it. and then I have to have the spreadsheet upload the information. Okay. And then I have to review the information. And then once I review it, what is that process? And also you need to think about, although some of you are doing, online businesses and things of that nature, e-commerce, or you're creating a product and it's going to be shipped out manually, what is your customer service process? So what if someone has paid for something and they didn't get it, or they got the wrong item? Okay. What is your process to go back? So you have to go back over your SIPOC and put in the process, if this doesn't happen. So there's going to be if then statements. So if this happens, then we do this. So you're going to really have to define those type of things. So like we talked about, what if my survey didn't get to you correctly? So I had to have you test it, and then if it didn't get to you, then I need to find a way in a timely manner to make sure that the error is fixed, and to make sure that you can go back and get it, right? And that's also going to coincide, if you're, like you said, if you're doing the Shopify, especially I do a lot of Amazon purchases. Okay. And there's so many different suppliers on Amazon that supply the different products. But if I'm not happy, Amazon created up a new way where you can just go into your profile, go into your account, and you can tell it, do you like your product? Yes or no? Was this the right? And they have different questions. What happened? What's wrong with the product? Was it the wrong price? Was it the wrong size? Was it the wrong color? Was it damaged? Did you get the wrong item? And you fill out the survey, and automatically they have a process to try to mitigate it. Same item? Do you want to return the item? Are you going to keep the item? They ask you all these questions, and then if you decide to return it, there's labels that they send automatically to your account, and you can return it. And all you have to do is go to the UPS store, scan that label, close the box back up, package it back up, and it goes right back. And then you tell it in the computer portal that you didn't like the product, you're sending it back. It knows that. And then once it gets to UPS, it tracks it, sends you the information saying, we received the tracking notification for your item that you're replacing. Your refund is on the way. And then it has like a status bar to tell you when your refund's coming, 3 to 5 business days. It tells you, the different status of it. And then finally, I clicked back on it like a few days later, and it said, we received the product back and your refund is being refunded. And then it tells you when it refunded the item back to you. Okay. And then it credits your account. So you have to have a process, some sort of customer service process, because we don't want it to be a point where you're having people, reviewing you and saying, oh, because people can review it now, right? There's Yelp, there's Amazon, there's Spotify, Facebook. I mean, there's so many ways for individuals to write a review about you. Even as a business owner, they can call the SEC about you, and they could say, oh, this individual gave me a product, and the SEC, they can call the SEC, and the SEC has your business number because you register your business through the state of Virginia. You have to have a business, and they're going to call you and say, hey, this person had a complaint. So we definitely don't want that. So you always want to think about the process that's going through with your customer. Okay. If you have, who has any questions about that or any comments about that? So the video that we're going to watch, oh, go ahead. Oh.
So, like, we all make mistakes. Of course, it happens. So, how bad, or like, how, like, what would, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, what would happen, like, it's like, oh, if it's like so constant, or if it's like, or if there's like other couple mistakes or couple errors.
And what?
Like,
Exactly.
it's like, oh, you get a complaint from complaint from a couple reviews. You have like certain good amount of bad reviews.
So that's when you want to change your process, right? And
Right.
the objective is, and that's why this SIPOC is so important because you can write down, all the opportunities for improvement. So if something happens in the process, right? So you'll see in the video, they're going to do like if then statements. And there's another video that's on our Schoolology that I suggest you guys watch. It's more of a longer video. It's like 6 minutes. The video I'm going to show you is really short, but the other video talks about, okay, so if this doesn't go well, if this process isn't working, there's an if then. So did the customer receive their product on time? Yes or no, right? If no, then you do this. You go back to the supplier tab. And then you have to think about what are the inputs you need to change to do that. And then you have to think about, what are the process steps that you need to incorporate so that that won't happen. Okay. You're going to have some checks and balances. Okay. And then you're going back to your output and then to the customer again. So you're really changing the process of the map. And you're really going back in and defining what are those challenges? And that's what we call it OFI, opportunities for improvement. Because, like you said, everyone makes mistakes. Okay. And then when you're looking at that and you say, okay, what are the different variables that affect the process? So you're independent and dependent variables. So what are the happen on a regular basis that are affecting the process that we need in this process? What is the process relying on? Okay, those are your dependent variables. Sometimes okay, so those are like an independent variable. Okay, because that's something that just doesn't happen all the time. Because normally they would get the right product. Or what if you ran out of product? Okay, so you would have to think about your process of ordering, your inventory process. So there's always somewhere a pitfall in the process somewhere that you can look at. And you see this bullet, we focus on the pitfalls in the process to improve it. Okay. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Good. So what we're going to do, we're going to transition a little bit to a different topic. Okay. So does anyone have any more questions about SIPOC or need me to explain it in more detail? So what I would love for you to do is after class, I would love for you to write down what, this process, okay? And there is some information, of course, on Schoolology for it, but we'll watch a video a little bit later, and it's really going to talk about you as a supplier. The input is all of the different departments, people, strategies, tools, resources, everything that you're going to need to input, right, in order to create this product or process or service. And then your output, what is it? What's the next step of the process? Where is it going to go? Once you created it, what do you do with it? Okay. And then look at your customer. How is your customer? So the output is really like a delivery process of the product or the service. And then your customer, how does it get to that customer? And really define it and think about some things that could go wrong and start doing some if then statements. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording so you guys could um, watch a video that talks a little bit about that. Okay, but thank you all for participating and listening.